Everybody thinks they know how to get healthy. Oh, it's just eat less and move more. And I often wonder, I'm like, how's that working out for you? Right? Just knowing is not enough. And I think in the age of AI, we can chat GPT a meal plan, we can chat GPT a workout plan, easy stuff, everybody sees it. But here's the problem that most people don't see yet.
We're in person. Jazakallah khair. Wa alaikum assalam.
Nice to meet you.
Appreciate you coming out. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
In person.
In person. We've done a lot of Zoom interactions. This is the first time I was in San Diego, and I was like, you know what, let's do it in person.
Oh, alhamdulillah. Well, I'm stoked, man. So today I want to kind of take a little bit of a different angle based on the principles that we lived out today. So we first met at Fajr at the masjid. What did you notice about going to Fajr at the masjid, how it positively affected your day, and how other Muslims could benefit from this too?
Alhamdulillah, I think it was so great because I woke up, the namaz was at 6 a.m. I woke up around 5 a.m. And then you're not going to go back to sleep because after you drive to the masjid, pray, come home, then I was like, man, I got like 2 hours before my meetings even start. So I went for a 2-mile run and then had a really good breakfast. So I think it's such a great morning routine, and that's something I've been personally wanting to do because I pray Fajr at home, but praying Fajr at the masjid is just such a good routine. So today has been a very, very awesome day due to that one habit that started, with praying Fajr at the masjid. So definitely recommend it if you're not already doing it.
SubhanAllah, it's a high performance habit. And I think, even non-Muslims who wake up early are a lot more productive. And I think it's one of those keystone habits that you do it for the sake of Allah and you get so much barakah, because there's a lot of barakah in the morning. The Prophet ﷺ used to make dua in the morning that Allah would put barakah in the mornings for this ummah. So it's one of those barakah productivity secrets that truly has transformed my life. I first heard about it, just the idea of going to Fajr at the masjid and going to the gym afterwards from this brother named Osama Musa, who I did my first Modern Muslim podcast with ever. And after that, I was hooked. I mean, I started doing that and it changed my life. Now I have a son who I have to take to school in the morning, so I do the gym later. But and the thing is, your gym routine can be flexible because we just worked out right now around 1:30 p.m. And how do you feel right now, mood-wise, and how do you think that can help somebody show up to their family, their work, everything better?
No, 100%. Going back to what you were saying about Fajr, Islam is such a perfect religion when it comes to this because Fajr is the start of your day. It's early morning, get it done, right? Once you pray, then the second prayer of Zohar isn't until in the afternoon. So there's like an 8-hour when you should focus on work and get everything done for your work. Because Islam doesn't just tell us to pray all day. Islam wants us to be practical as well. So that's so beautiful. But going back to your point, if you can set up your day where you can, look at your life and be like, how am I doing financially, spiritually, religiously, all of those things, then you can make time for things, right? It's like, all right, work done. Now we're, lifting weights and we're, getting stronger. But also, it just fits really well. So now, like even at, it's almost 3:30 p.m., my energy's high. I feel like if I was to, work for another couple hours, I can totally do it. And there's still, time for family. There's still all of that because my day started with Fajr in the morning at the masjid. So I think it's working out right now. Great energy, but I've been up for, since 5 a.m. So it's still great.
100%. It's like Fajr sets the tone for that first half of the day until Dhuhr. Then you go pray Dhuhr, you kind of reset, get that calmness. Then really working out at any time of the day can benefit you. Like, let's say you work out after Dhuhr, maybe you feel a bit tired, but you go work out anyways. You get the energy boost afterwards that lasts you into the night. If you work out in the morning, you start your day with the barakah of Fajr and the workout. And if you work on the evening, you gotta do what you gotta do. Personally, I'm not a fan. I don't know about you, but I find that most clients tend to do well working out either in the morning or midday, like some point in the middle of the day, what works for them.
Mornings are great, especially like a lot of our clients are doctors, Muslim doctors, and they're very busy people. They go to the hospital, then work all day. And, I tell people, I'm like, if you can do it at night, do it at night. Just do the workouts, right? It makes you a better Muslim, but also makes you healthier and fitter. But if you can do it in the morning, I notice it is whatever you can knock out in the morning, they say your willpower is at its highest in the morning. So if you're somebody just starting off in your fitness journey and you're like, man, I've been trying to get on track and it's just not happening, in the morning, you'll have the most willpower, right? And during the day, as you make each decision on what coffee to get, what to eat for lunch, and, with your family, like your willpower gets depleted with every decision you make. So by the end of your day, your willpower is almost at zero, right? So that's why a lot of people who leave their workouts in the evenings usually don't do them, right? So the best part is do the hardest thing first, right? Eat the frog in the morning. So go pray Fajr, then hit the gym. But if you're somebody that already has a gym habit and you're already very good and you got that locked in, but you need to focus on other areas, then yeah, make time in the evening because you have to pick up your kids from school and all of that, right? So at the end of the day, do it whenever you can make time, but mornings or afternoon, you probably have a lot more willpower to go harder and train better.
100%. Yeah, and ironically, one of my only clients who trains in the evening, like around 5 to 7 p.m., is ironically a doctor. So I don't know how he does it, but mashallah, I find that most clients do well. I mean, you gotta do it whatever time of day that you can and that you have to. But again, the evening, you have a risk of insomnia because the energy boost you get from training, it'll benefit you early in the day, but harm you later. For me, if I'm going through a rough part of my life where I need that stress release and mood booster earlier in the day, I'll work out at 9 a.m. after I drop off my son, or just certain days where that fits my schedule better. But usually what I like is I'll knock out deep work from like 9 to 12, get Dhuhr in, and then work out at like 1. Sometimes I'll work out at 11, just real quick before Dhuhr, and that kind of flow works for me. But again, you have to find what works for you. So try knocking out in the morning and getting the benefits of that, like Mo said, and you might find that once in a while that works well for you. Maybe it doesn't, or maybe it works well all the time, right?
No, yeah.
But you kind of gotta keep pushing it up and do what works for you in that season.
And I think going back to your doctor client that works out in the evening, some clients that can make it work is they reframe it as therapy. After a long, stressful day at work, they go to the gym and it's kind of like, I can listen to whatever I want to listen to, music or non-music, but it's like, I can just be in the gym and it's kind of like the dopamine, the endorphins firing, it's all the healthy chemicals and you feel better. So you gotta, if you're somebody that needs the therapy because your work is very stressful, sure, do it in the evening. But Mounir is so right, it does affect your sleep. So then you might have a tough time sleeping. But I know some training is better than no training. So if your schedule is, and in different seasons of life, right? Like when you're single, you can train in the morning or you can do that. But it's like as you get older, as you have a family, kids, life, business, or work situation, maybe you got a job that makes you commute every morning. So then you have to wake up even extra early. So whatever your situation is, just look at it objectively and find a time that you can actually stick to, because that's the best thing to do, is like pick a time that you can stick to. The clients that we often struggle with, or I know they're struggling with making time for workouts, is the clients that someday they work out in the morning, someday in the evening, someday in the afternoon, some days they don't even know when they're going to work out. That's what you want to avoid, because at that point it's kind of like, it's so unpredictable and you're more likely not going to stick with it. Like imagine if, in Islam, we could just pray anytime, but Allah has like dedicated times for it. And there's beauty in that because it gives you structure. So anytime you can like sit down and be like, hey, I started this new job 3 months ago. This is kind of like my schedule. Now, what can I consistently, dedicate to my workouts? What time is the gym open? What time do I have the energy? And then just find a time, even if it's for 20 or 30 minutes. If you just do that consistently, you'll make great progress.
And I think the big principle there is don't wing it, right? Always have a plan. Even if your workout time varies day to day, you should have kind of like an archetype of a day that you're able to plug into. So for instance, let's say that you have, certain days of the week where, your work schedule is such that maybe you are able to work out at 9 a.m. Other days, maybe you work out at 6. Other days, maybe you work out at 12. But you're not just haphazardly doing it to where you're going to fall off or be inconsistent. You are planning the whole week. You're time blocking it. And a lot of people are scared to time block because they're like, oh, I'm going to lose my freedom. I'm going to have anxiety because I have so many blocks on my calendar. And I get it. If you rigidly plan every one of the 24 hours of the day and you have zero free time to do what you feel like, totally understandable. A lot of people don't really thrive on that. But a lot of your day should at least be structured. The main priorities, especially the ones that you're trying to become more consistent with, should be structured. For instance, prayers. When people struggle with prayers, the best way to fix that is time block them into your day so that you're not booking meetings that mess up your prayers, right? Same thing with working out, same thing with meals. You do have to time block it. And like Mo said, a lot of our clients are doctors, and doctors have the most haphazard schedules of anybody, ironically, right? But it's so important that you create those boundaries with your time. And the other big tip, and I'm not sure how, because I'm sure you have some systems for this. I have a few systems for this as well. You always also need a plan B, because especially if you have kids, they have random emergencies, especially if your work is very demanding, you might have random work emergencies, business owner, doctor, whatever you are, executive. You're always going to have random things that you get pulled into. So you need a plan B for what are you going to do if plan A does not succeed. So do you have any plan B strategies for people who tend to have plan A go wrong occasionally?
Yeah, are you thinking what if their plan was to work out in the morning and if they can't, is that what you're thinking?
Yes, or if they have a busy week or even commuting to the gym, which they would normally do, is too much time for them to where they have to do like a bodyweight backup workout.
Yeah, at home gyms are great for that. So for all of our clients, we recommend having some kind of weight dumbbell workouts or some kind of kettlebell setup at home, because that gives them that structure. Because sometimes you might not be able to make it to the gym. Like right now, I'm from Michigan, and right now it's snowing out there. So it's tough to drive to the gym when it's snowing out. It's just the roads are a mess. So a lot of the people in the, East Coast or Northeast or even in the Midwest, they're getting snowed in during the winter. So it's like, okay, have the home gym set up. Or if another pandemic hits, like you got the home gym set up. That always helps a lot. And then the gym is great for that environment. I notice oftentimes if plan B becomes your plan A, meaning if you start making your home gym everything and that's all you work out of, you'll notice you won't be as inspired. So like switching it up really helps. It's kind of like praying at home versus, going to the masjid. You kind of need both, right? Because otherwise you kind of get stagnant. You kind of get like you're just going through the motions. So whenever I go to the new gym, I just feel more fired up seeing other people. But then there's also time when home workouts are just excellent, right? So you gotta feel free to switch between both, and your plan A should be the gym because they'll have more weights and all of that. But if you're a busy mom or if you're a busy dad and you just can't get to the gym because you're busy work schedule, home workouts are great. But still, on Sundays, Saturdays, when you have some more time, go to the gym. It'll help you stay inspired. It'll help you get that focus back that you might be lacking at home, because at home nobody's calling you out, nobody's pushing you, nobody is keeping you accountable. So there's that for sure.
100%. Also, for those who feel that the gym, especially, whatever particular gym you have near you, is too much of an inappropriate environment. For instance, if you're a man, there's women wearing extremely tight clothes everywhere. If you're a woman, there's sweaty, grunting men everywhere to where you don't feel comfortable getting into certain workout positions. This is another reason to train at home, especially for certain types of exercises, or if the time that you can make it to the gym is the most crowded time. Alhamdulillah, I train for my apartment gym, so there's usually not a whole lot of people there, and I can just put on my headphones to, block the music and listen to like a podcast. But, ultimately, you kind of have to find the setup that works for you. And a lot of the times for just simple fat loss, which is kind of what most people's goal is, you don't really need a super elaborate setup with a ton of heavy weights to get great results. You can do a lot with just some dumbbells and a bench. And even a lot of people can get a lot done with body weight. Now, of course, I'm always a big fan of having some real weights though, because, let's say you're trying to train your chest, but you're too overweight to do push-ups efficiently. You can do a progression where you do them from the wall, then from the counter, then from the couch, then from the floor. But that's a lot harder to progress on than just having dumbbells that you could add 5 pounds each time. And you do need to do strength training to get your metabolism up. And this is a great transition, unless there were further points you want to make on that last point about what's the best way to train. Because I think a lot of people, especially women, where, Mo works mostly with women versus I work mostly with men, but we do have some overlap where he has some men and I have some women as well in our program. But a lot of women and some men are scared to strength train because they're like, I don't want to be a bulky bodybuilder, and that's what strength training is for, right? But cardio is how you lose weight, right? But really, there's a good balance to be had with both. And if you're neglecting strength training, your metabolism is going to be slow. So let's talk a little bit about that.
No, 100%. I think strength training, the reason most people are scared of strength training is because it requires a skill, as opposed to just, running on the treadmill or just walking on the elliptical. There's no skill required. You just go to the gym, push that button. So a lot of people get into their comfort zone. Whereas the weight section with the dumbbells, kettlebells, or even the machines requires a little bit more skill. But that's the beauty of life. When something requires a little bit more skill, it's actually good for you, right? To learn that. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the scientific studies, the benefits of strength training are endless, right? There's so many great benefits to it. And on top of that, when you actually work out, your metabolism gets better. You also gain, aesthetically, you look better. You also burn more fat. And then one of the most common things we're seeing in our community, right, South Asians or Muslims as a whole, Muslim females, is type 2 diabetes, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like our type 2 diabetes, this sucks. It's the silent killer of all the, all the other problems. So if we look at as a ummah, as Muslim woman or Muslim men, the type 2 diabetes rates are increasing by the day. There's so many of our parents, even our older brothers and sisters that are struggling right now with type 2 diabetes. And the crazy thing is, first time they find out is from the doctor. So then the doctor, very rarely, I love my doctor friends, but very rarely do they tell you to go exercise or eat a certain way. The first recommendation they make is, let's put you on metformin, or let's put you on a medication. So then you get on these medications for years and years and there's no stopping, right? And a lot of the time, you're still scared to strength train. So even if your doctor mentioned, go exercise, you still don't know how to exercise, right? You haven't ever learned it. You never played sports. When you were younger, you were busy getting academia, and you were busy becoming an engineer, lawyer, or doctor. So then you neglected sports. So now you're at a point where you don't know how to train, and the only thing you know is treadmill. So you might go on Amazon and buy a treadmill, but then what? That's just walking, right? Walking is great. It burns some calories, but what you actually need is some muscle tissue, because that muscle will help you burn more fat, and it also helps with, preventing type 2 diabetes. It also helps preventing arthritis. All these things, even cholesterol, all these things that our community is struggling so greatly with. And I feel like if there's one thing I could change, in addition to making some nutrition changes, it would be that. Just learn how to strength train. And like Mounir said, it doesn't have to be complicated, right? It could be something as simple as buying some dumbbells or buying a nice kettlebell and doing, dumbbell squats every day or following some kind of routine. But I think as a ummah, we need to get into strength training, because for far too long, we've been too scared of it. Because our parents' generation, or, 60 years ago, type 2 diabetes or cholesterol weren't as big of a concern in our communities. But now with the Western diet, with just food being available in abundance, with so much fast food in all of Western and Muslim countries, we're having problems that we never had before, right? So at the end of the day, it's like we're going towards obesity and we're having type 2 diabetes and all these lifestyle dependent diseases. On this side, you have strength training and actually healthy living, but nobody taught us that. So we just keep going down this path. So it's like, okay, to reverse that, if there's one thing, I'm a big fan of just one thing that you could do. I think it is to learn strength training. So going into 2026 or in the new year, if all you do is one thing, which is I'm going to go learn strength training, get a gym membership or get a home gym set up, or, you can work with one of us. It's like, just get that one thing, which is strength training. I think that one skill alone will help you so much, because that kind of gets you into nutrition and start paying attention. Because after you do a great workout, you don't want to eat donuts. You just don't feel like eating donuts. You crave protein, you create healthy food. So I know, long-winded answer, but I think if there's one thing most people can do that will help them with lifestyle dependent diseases, it is strength training.
That's a very good answer. And there's so many benefits to strength training, and there's so many problems that are solved by strength training. On the men's side, low testosterone is a huge epidemic. Strength training plus weight loss is the ultimate combo for that, in addition to getting better quality sleep, which strength training helps with as well. Strength training will improve your sleep quality. Getting enough sleep will boost your testosterone by 15 to 25%, going from above 15% body fat to under 15% body fat. So losing, 20, 30 pounds for most people who are in that, typical body fat range that most Muslims are in. That will improve your testosterone by another 20 to 30%. Strength training acutely increases your testosterone by, I believe, 15%, and over the long term increases it by 10 to 20%, like holistically. Lowers your cortisol, increases sleep quality. So it's just a positive feedback loop. I had a client who came in and he was 210 pounds and his testosterone level was at like 380 or something. And now he's down to 177, mashallah, and his testosterone is 680.
Wow.
No supplements, literally just fixes diet. I'm on a low-fat diet too, which is funny because people think that low-fat, you need to eat a bunch of fat to increase testosterone. Nope. It dropped his body fat, got him strength training more consistently. His sleep habits were pretty decent already, but again, he had low test, and just from losing that body fat, his testosterone almost doubled, which is crazy, mashallah. And he's 35, high-stress business owner, athlete. He had so much going on that, all the stressors could have easily crushed his testosterone, but mashallah, completely naturally boosted it. In addition to that, like Mo mentioned, the reason why strength training boosts or reduces your risk of diabetes. So diabetes is defined by having a high A1C, right? Strength training can reduce your A1C by 0.5 to 1% within a 3-month time frame, which is pretty profound because that's the same effectiveness of metformin, right? But instead of having diminishing returns, it has continued returns. The more muscle you have, the better your glucose tolerance, the more carbs you can eat without getting fat, the more your insulin sensitivity. So any carbs that you do eat get shuttled towards muscle instead of towards fat. Now you can get the benefits of carbohydrates, which is that they lower your cortisol, which will also reduce your insulin resistance. Your metabolism comes up, which helps you lose body fat, which helps you also improve your insulin sensitivity, reverse fatty liver, which often goes hand in hand with, diabetes and metabolic syndrome. And, it's just absolutely crazy. And I believe also like losing 10% of your body weight can also improve your A1C by 0.5 to 1%. So between the two of those things, you can reduce your A1C by 1 to 2%, which is the difference between being pre-diabetic and completely happy. It's the difference between being diabetic and not diabetic. So, within 90 days, you can see some profound things. Like I had a client came in, had a diagnosis with prediabetes. He's like, I need to do something about this. Busy business owner in his 40s, working 50, 60 hours a week with 3 kids and, very high stress. He was doing F45 training 6 days a week, but his diet was messed up. He wasn't doing proper strength training. So he was under muscled, which was number 1, why he had diabetes. Number 2, he was overweight. Number 3, he was binging on nuts and dates, thinking that was a healthy snack, when in reality, dried fruit is very calorie dense. And, by losing 10 kilos, 22 pounds in 90 days, he was able to reverse fatty liver, reverse type 2 diabetes, astound his doctor and all of his doctor friends, And so this is what strength training can do for you. Mo also mentioned that it helps to prevent osteoporosis, right? Especially for women. Women are very prone to that in their 50s. So the choices you make in your 20s, 30s, 40s are going to affect you as a woman in your 50s. And beyond that, it's cool to be toned and have a great physique and be fit in your 30s, 40s, 50s. But what's even cooler is not slipping in the shower, falling and breaking your hip in your 70s, which is what strength training helps with: balance, muscle, everything.
No, 100%. I think you made some really, really, really good points there. And also, like, one of the benefits of strength training is that life is just more enjoyable. Here's why. It allows you to eat more carbohydrates. So if you look at most diets that are out there, right, like, oh, drink this green smoothie, or, do this, like super calorically deficit diets, what happens there is they don't tell you to train, right? A lot of I'm not going to name names, but a lot of the supplement-based solutions that are out there, the snake oil ones, what they tell you is like, yeah, like live this miserable life, no carbs, no cultural food, just eat this very strict regimen. They don't involve any exercise. And then, yeah, you're going to lose some weight. Well, you lose some water weight, but that's about it. And then even if you lose some fat, what happens is eventually you gain it back. With strength training, as you're developing this skill, as you're developing this habit, even psychologically, now you're enjoying it more. You check yourself out in the mirror more. Like, we've had so many female clients tell us that their husbands were super happy, right? Because you're just getting stronger. You feel more confident in your own skin. Those are all benefits that I think Mounir mentioned a lot of the pharmacological and biochemical benefits, but also there's a lot of psychological benefits, right? Because while if you look at the first 3 months, metformin or strength training might have similar benefits, metformin also comes with a lot of side effects. Strength training doesn't, right? Strength training, obviously you have to invest some time, but it's a natural, good way of actually, that's how Allah made us. That's how our bodies were made to do is, and a lot of us nowadays in the West, we have remote jobs, we have, very desk-oriented jobs, we have office jobs, and that's a good thing, mashallah, because it's good income. But at the same time, we're not using our bodies for what they were meant to be. Our bodies were meant to be stronger. Our bodies were meant to run. Our bodies were meant to lift things, right? So now even psychologically, when you start eating, when you start training, strength training, now your body can actually utilize carbohydrates better, right? And that also really helps because in our cultural Muslim diets, a lot of the time we have carbohydrates. So I tell clients, I'm like, you don't want to be that friend who's like always on a diet because nobody likes that in your social circle, right? So if you can lift weights and get that consistency going, then you'll be that friend where people are like, how do you look so good? And yet you can still eat French fries or you could still, have a little bit of fun. And I think that's the most important part is strength training allows your body to metabolize glucose and metabolize carbohydrates way better than if you just stay on the cardio side and just stay on a super strict diet. You'll never get out of that trap. Whereas if you learn strength training, clean up your food, you can also continue eating carbohydrates and your body will be just fine.
That's a huge, huge point. And another huge problem that's caused by these cardio and restrictive low-carb diets and all this other stuff that strength training solves is yo-yo dieting. So yo-yo dieting is when you lose weight and regain it, lose weight, regain it. So you think that you're just losing and regaining the same 20 pounds, but when you lose 20 pounds, part of that is muscle. But if you're not strength training and eating enough protein, but what you regain is purely fat. And so over time, you might be around the same weight or only have gained slightly a bit more weight because oftentimes people gain back more than what they even lost on these restrictive diets because they rebound so hard. But on top of that, part of why you rebound so hard is that when you lose muscle, your metabolism gets slower. And so you gain back even more, even if you're eating the same amount of calories or even less. Like there's people who at age 20, they weighed, a certain amount. And at age 50, they weigh 30 pounds more, even though they eat less than they did at 20 because their metabolism has slowed down, not due to age, but due to muscle loss. And that muscle loss was caused not just by the natural decay of muscle as we get older if we don't take care of it, but by these diets themselves. So you were putting in so much effort to do something you thought was good for you, lose weight, but you did it the wrong way. And now your metabolism is slow, and that is the consequence of yo-yo dieting as it gets harder and harder, not because of age. I mean, that's part of it too, because you get more stressed and more responsible as you get older, but it's because you've damaged your metabolism. Versus if you strength train, you could be in your 60s with a faster metabolism than you had in your 20s. In fact, I know people in their 60s who are in great shape, including a friend of mine who's a professional bodybuilder in his 60s. Now, again, you don't have to take it to the same extreme as me. That's why I'm glad that, Mo is here, because he represents more the physique that most people are going for as opposed to the big jack bodybuilder, right? So Mo is like fit, athletic, all that stuff. I only look like this because I've put in a lot of, calories to gain this type of size. But, the fact that I've been able to eat that many calories and stay lean and still have a six-pack, it just shows the strength training. You can take it as far as you want to whatever extreme you want. Or if you're a woman who has no desire to be bulky, or you're a man who just wants to look like a swimmer, right? That's actually not hard to achieve. Strength training is still the pathway either way. You just have to be in a calorie surplus for a larger portion of the year to gain a bunch of size.
Yeah.
So
And speaking of lifestyle, just to finish that point, is imagine you're a doctor or you're a lawyer or you're an engineer. And as you get older, right, after the age of 30, like Mounir mentioned, your bones are getting weaker, your muscle mass is declining, your metabolism is slowing down. So what happens is we all have friends that don't strength train, but as they gotten older, they've been packing on, belly fat. And now at 35, they have back pain. They have knee pain. All these things are becoming a common thing for you because your body's getting weaker, right? So very easy benefit of strength training is your body's going to get stronger. When your body gets stronger, you're less likely to have all these, weird pains and aches. And I think that in itself is a great thing. And I think one thing I noticed that I'm not a fan of is all these painkillers, right?
Terrible.
And I think sometimes we get so used to them, right? Like I don't take painkillers very much at all. And whenever I have a headache, I'm like, you know what? I'm probably electrolyte deficient.
Right.
I'm probably this deficient. So one thing I notice is like as you get into strength training, as you take fitness more seriously, you just become more in tune with your body. It's kind of like when you go pray namaz and you pray salah, you get more in tune with your soul and it just becomes more in tune with your deen. It's kind of like what you focus on grows. So if you focus on focusing on your health and getting your body stronger, you start getting more in tune with your body. So as you eat, like whenever I eat a little bit of junk food or if I'm traveling and I have no other thing, my body doesn't feel good. So I don't crave junk food anymore. I only crave like good quality nutrition, not because I'm super disciplined, but because my body likes that. My stomach, my gut microbiome prefers that. Whenever I feed it the wrong stuff, my body's like, really? Like you expect me to go for a 2-mile run or work out with Mounir with that fuel? It doesn't like it. So I think just start with strength training and then you'll notice it will inshallah get easier because your body starts working in your favor, right? Just like you can get addicted to unhealthy food, you can also get addicted to healthy food. And I think that is the psychological component that's often not talked about is people that are healthy around you, that eat really healthy or that eat, you're like, man, that person has a lot of discipline. Not always. It's because over time their body starts craving that nutrition because they've created the need. Versus when you just, do some cardio and go on some walks and just eat super restrictive, then you'll also always be that person that's like, oh, I can't eat chocolate. I can't eat chocolate. And what happens when I tell you, hey, do not think of the elephant. Do not think of an elephant, right? You start thinking of an elephant. Same thing with that. It's like whenever you're like, I can't eat chocolate. I can't eat chocolate. It's like all of a sudden you've been thinking about it all day, right? And then you end up binging. So strength training kind of helps your body get in tune with itself. So you start getting healthier by setting up these systems in place.
And you start feeling good and getting used to feeling good, which is part of why when you start to, strength train and eat healthy properly, not restrictively, because here's the thing. Restricting yourself on a severe diet, avoiding all your favorite foods, eating way too little, losing a bunch of muscle, crashing your hormones, spiking your stress hormones, doing all this endurance exercise that spikes your stress hormones further to try to burn calories and suppress your metabolism, that makes you feel even worse than being unhealthy, right? They say that nothing tastes better than thin feels, but that type of thin feels awful, right? I mean, anything tastes better than that, right? But the point is, when you do it the right way, where you're strength training, you're eating more. Like a lot of times my clients are surprised how much I get them eating because with strength training and with high quality food, you get to actually eat a lot of food where you're not feeling hungry. And then your metabolism gets better and better to where you can eat more and more. And it's just absolutely amazing. So you're eating more of high quality foods that make you feel great. And before you know it, you start feeling amazing. Like go eat a fruit. Okay, see how you feel for an hour after that, and go eat a donut of the same equal number of calories as a piece of fruit, and you tell me which sugar makes you feel better. It's the fruit sugars, it's the clean sugars. Go eat a sweet potato with some honey and cinnamon, and then see how you feel for the next 3 hours, and then go eat a Cinnabon and tell me how you feel within 30 minutes. Awful. Even though the taste is very similar, the sweet potato with cinnamon is so nutritious for your body with a little bit of honey on it. It's a very healthy way to satisfy that craving and make yourself feel better. And over time, you become accustomed to that, and you stop craving that crazy dopamine hit and whatever other chemicals they put in these processed foods that make you addicted. You break that addiction. You start feeling good instead of being used to feeling awful to where you don't even know what good feels like. Okay? Like a lot of people think it's normal to be lethargic, bloated, feeling awful, stiff every single day when you get older. No, it's not. What's normal is that you feel good, and you feel good when you eat good. But when you eat bad, you get so used to it that feels normal that you don't even know what good feels like. And once you taste the sweetness of what good feels like, and you find a way to hit that with delicious foods, and you become used to that, that's what Mo's talking about, where you no longer crave junk foods. So it starts with strength training, and if you want to do, so I like what Mo said about do one thing, but if you want to do two things, strength training and a clean, proper diet. And I'm going to give you guys a bonus. I have a free meal plan template. If you guys comment with the word meal plan below, my team will send you a free meal plan template, usually within 24 to 48 hours. We're going to send you 3 of them. Inside, there's instructions how to customize it to yourself, so you can see what a real meal plan should look like, and then you can obviously adjust the calories based on your needs, your appetite, stuff like that. But once you start eating that way, you fuel yourself, and even if you set your calories at maintenance where you're not even losing weight, your body composition improves because you're strength training, you're gaining muscle, you're eating more protein, you're eating the right foods, you're eating complex carbs, reducing the sugars and fats to where you will recomp even if you stay at the same weight, but you'll probably end up losing weight, you'll lose a bunch of bloating, you'll feel great. So comment meal plan, we'll send it to you for free, inshallah.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of nutrition, I know Ramadan is coming up.
Oh yeah.
It's what, 2 months now?
Yeah, like 87 days?
87 days.
Something like that?
Yeah. A little less than 3 months, right? So let's talk about Ramadan, because you're right. One of the things that I see often is in Ramadan, it's such a blessed month, right? We should actually, I always get leaner in Ramadan, and I love it because I just got to stay consistent, because Allah designed that month in a way where it's like, hey, it's good. And then one thing I notice, even in my cousins and stuff, is people, even young people, have a tough time getting through the entire Taraweeh, right? Because they feel lethargic, because they feel tired. And it almost always comes down to, okay, your body is not in good shape. And second, the diet you're eating during Ramadan is not good, right? So let's dive in, because I know you created a lot of content. And I know Mounir has the meal prep guide. We wrote last year, we gave away over 200 of these ebooks on Ramadan. So if you want more help during getting ready for Ramadan, just hit me up on Instagram and we'll love to send it to you. It's like a 30-page document, this PDF.
I'll attach his Instagram in the description, so go DM in on Instagram for that. And I also have a Ramadan guide too. If you go to my YouTube channel and you go to the playlist, there's a whole like Ramadan mini course. So grab both of our free things, because you need to get ready for Ramadan, and we'll talk about it further.
And the best thing is, like, read Mounir's stuff, read my stuff. I think the best thing is awareness. Too often we go into Ramadan unprepared. We go into it, you're like, yeah, what are we eating on day 1 and day 2?
Samosas. Let's eat a bunch of samosas and crash our energy levels and get bloated and ruin already bad, because the purpose of Ramadan is eating, right? Nope.
Literally, it becomes a celebration of food. And I think at the end of the day, it's like, then, you know, I always go to the masjid. I try to go to the masjid or pray Tarawih at home. And one thing I notice is so many people, even after, like, at our masjid, we do like the, you know, the sheikh, he sits down and like gives us a nice khutbah after the Tarawih. And I always enjoy that. And I think far too often, since we get used to eating really junky food during Ramadan, a lot of brothers don't have the energy to stick around, so they run. So it's like, okay. So walk me through, I guess, like your Ramadan routine generally. What do you eat normally? How have you, because you've done it for so long, you've been in shape for so long. So let's talk about Ramadan, because I think that's the part where we should already start talking about, even though it's about 3 months away.
Yeah, so Ramadan, so first off, let's talk about Ramadan prep. So I'd highly recommend, up until 2 weeks before Ramadan, you should try to do some of the Monday and Thursday fasts, which is the Sunnah fasting, so you can experiment some of the things that you're going to learn from me and Mo inside of our Ramadan guides. So what I tend to find is one of the best foods to have at Suhoor. I have many videos on like what are the 5 best foods for Suhoor, but in every one of those lists, I always mention eggs. Eggs are one of the best foods for giving you a ton of nutrition, all the micronutrients that you need, all the proteins, even healthy fats. Even though I'm usually an advocate for low fat, these are some fats that I'm willing to put into my diet because they're so beneficial in moderation. Now, when I say moderation, you know, in my normal outside of Ramadan low fat diet, I might have, you know, 1 to 2 eggs with maybe 1 or 2 of my meals, maybe 3 of my meals, to where I might hit like a maximum of 3 to 5 eggs a day, but usually only 1 to 2 eggs a day. But in Ramadan, every morning at Suhoor, I usually try to have at least 5 eggs. And again, you can scale that down to your portions. Maybe that's only 2 to 3 for you, depending on your appetite, especially that early in the morning. But even if you only have 1 egg at Suhoor, eggs actually cause your body to release its own GLP-1 agonist. GLP-1 is the exact receptor that Ozempic hits. Now, Ozempic has many side effects because it's a dangerous pharmaceutical compound that can cause blindness and metabolic issues and make it impossible to eat, all that stuff. We're not trying to nuke our appetite and metabolism that hard. No, we're not trying to nuke our metabolism at all. We only want to kind of reduce our appetite a bit so we can focus on prayer during the day and function in our day-to-day life, taking care of our kids without being grumpy and being patient with them, and of course working, providing for the family. So eggs will help to prevent you from getting excessively hungry during the day. Now, another great food to have at Suhoor time is going to be any kind of lean protein. And for people with a fast metabolism, you could do fattier proteins. For people with a slow metabolism, you should stick with leaner proteins, because people with fast metabolism need those fats to prevent themselves from going too much in a deficit during the day. Versus if you have a slow metabolism, your body doesn't need that much fat, so you should just keep with the leaner proteins if you have an appetite for it in the morning. So like chicken breast for people who are more overweight, slow metabolism, versus, you know, chicken thighs and drumsticks if you're somebody who loses too much weight and too much muscle in Ramadan and you need something to keep you for the day. In addition to this, Greek yogurt is amazing at suhoor, and people tend to have an appetite for it in the morning. You could do cottage cheese. I don't like cottage cheese. I think it's disgusting, but a lot of people like it. It's similar nutrition to Greek yogurt. Protein shake is also great, especially for those who don't have an appetite in the morning at suhoor time, so you at least get some of your protein in, even if it's not going to keep you full as long. And you can combine these. Like my favorite suhoor is 5 eggs, 2 Greek yogurts, and 2 scoops of protein shake. It's about 100 grams of protein, and it keeps me solid for the whole day, based on my high protein needs. But for a lot of clients, that might be scaled down by anywhere from 30 to 50% depending on their needs. So this is a great suhoor food, but you can experiment with these. There's a couple others that I can recommend depending on the person. Dates are actually sunnah to have at suhoor. Even though I don't like to have a lot of carbs at suhoor, dates do help to retain hydration during the day, and they're sunnah to eat at suhoor time. Avocado can be good for people with faster metabolisms to have at suhoor to help prevent you from burning too much tissue during the day for being in too much of a deficit. But if you're more overweight, you might want to be careful with avocados because they're calorie dense. And then at iftar time, what I recommend is you break your fast with 1 date if you have a slow metabolism, 3 dates if you have a fast metabolism. And then from there, you have a protein shake, some electrolytes, and then you don't eat yet. You go pray maghrib, do your sunnah, do your adhkar, then after you've done all that, then you go eat. And the reason for this is that the stomach takes about 20 minutes to signal to the brain that it's full. So if you just go sit down in front of a giant plate of samosas, biryani, chaat, whatever else you eat, maqluba, awame, whatever you Arabs eat too.
Arabs.
Burgers.
I'm like, those.
Arabs.
I'm Pakistani. I'm like, I don't know those names.
I had to throw it in for the Arabs because we talk about too much Pakistani stuff. But
100%.
Samosas, everyone knows what a samosa is. Ladoos and whatnot.
Ladoos, yes.
And all these foods, and you haven't eaten all day, and you've depleted all your willpower, you're going to binge so hard on that you're barely going to make maghrib, let alone tarawih.
Yeah.
But if you do and you're also going to overeat and gain a bunch of fat, versus if you do what I just said, by the time you get to the food, you're still going to have an appetite, but you're going to have self-control. You'll eat a moderate portion. You will have prayed maghrib on time, which, praying at the early fixed time of the prayer window is more beloved to Allah. And from there, you'll control yourself. You eat a good portion. You go to tarawih. You'll have energy. You won't get fat. You'll get leaner. This is the Ramadan strategy in a nutshell.
No, I love that. And I think the electrolytes part also, it's like
yes.
You can have your electrolytes. So one thing I do is I love caffeine, right? So I love a cup of coffee in the morning. So with my suhoor, I have a cup of coffee, but I also do electrolytes because you don't want to pee out all the water that you just had, right? Because water helps. And especially those of you that work office jobs, right? Caffeine in the morning, maybe half a cup, maybe an espresso shot, right? That's what I do. I don't go back to sleep. One thing I noticed, some people do go back to sleep after suhoor. I don't, because what happens is after I wake up, what happens is I feel not very good. And it's very tough for my brain to get into work mode, right? So generally what I do is I'm up at suhoor, I have my suhoor food, and then have a cup of coffee, drink my electrolytes, and then I'm locked in, right? And then I just go straight to work. And then what I do generally between Asr and Maghrib, that's when I would take a nap. So don't neglect sleep. I know during Ramadan, especially in the winter, you're going to have less hours to sleep at night, right? Especially with Tarawih at night and then Fajr in the morning. What ends up happening for me is I usually end up making room for a nap. So don't forget about that part because you don't want to neglect sleep. Because if you're constantly sleep deprived during Ramadan, then your cortisol level will be higher and then it'll be tough for you.
And you'll lose a lot more muscle if you're sleep deprived in Ramadan, and it'll take away from your ibadah. You won't do as much worship because you're tired and you feel awful.
Do you take naps?
I try to. The last 10 nights, to be honest, I think everybody's sleep gets wrecked, but at least don't burn yourself out in the first 20 days or you're going to miss the last 10 nights of maximum ibadah.
Yeah.
Versus if you take good care of yourself in the first 20 days and you build good habits that are going to kind of carry over to the last 10 nights, you can push that final sprint and then recover afterwards. Because I know it's not realistic to get full sleep with everything else you got going on the last 10 nights, but at least the first 20 days, get 7+ hours of sleep per 24-hour period, which means you might need to take some naps. The good news, though, is the time change is only going to be halfway through Ramadan this year, which means Tarawih will be a lot earlier, so it'll probably be easier to get enough sleep and train and stuff like that.
There'll be time changes. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be, so most of Ramadan, I think up to the last 10 nights will be with Tarawih 1 hour earlier to where it'll be easier, hopefully, inshallah.
No, I love it. And I love like the last 10 days because almost whenever you know that, hey, the end is in sight and I can actually just push forward, that's when I can go really hard and it's good, right? Because Eid is coming up, it's exciting, then your sleep schedule will go back to normal. So yeah, Mounir is so right. It's like the first 20 to 25, like if you can just keep up the good habits, right? And do things that are sustainable. Don't go too hard at first. Like one thing we always see in the masjid, right? When you go to the mosque for Tarawih is like the first couple nights, a lot of brothers come, right? Well, then after a few nights, they just, you just have like people stop showing up. So it's like, okay, do something and do it consistently if you can, right? Even if you have to do less, right? You don't want to be that person in the gym who goes for on day one of the gym, spends 3 hours just training and then burns out and stops going to the gym week 2. You want to be somebody that actually can stay consistent, even if it's 30 minutes or 40 minutes, in the gym. Same thing with masjid. Same thing with Ramadan. It's like, try to, and I think this is such a good life habit too. I noticed my brain, I've wired it over the years to where it looks for sustainability. So even for content, I'm like, yeah, that content might be trendy and I like it, but it's not sustainable for me. I just know I couldn't sustain that. So I needed to build a system around that. Same thing in business. It's like doing things that are sustainable. Same thing in relationships, right? Whether it's spending time with your spouse. It's like if you can do things consistently, even if there's not outrageous quality or quantity, you'll still be fine. So I think same thing in Ramadan. It's like if you can do things that you can do consistently. And I think that's the beautiful part about it.
And there's a hadith on this too. The most beloved deeds to Allah are the ones that are done consistently, even if they're small. So subhanAllah, one of my former business partners once put that in one of our emails talking about being consistent with the gym. And if you're doing the gym for the sake of Allah, then inshallah you'll get rewarded for it. But the point is, build yourself with a sustainable rhythm. There's also another hadith, which is if you go too extreme in your religion, you're going to burn out. Ooh. Take the middle path to your target, aka Jannah. So it doesn't mean to neglect your basics of Islam. Of course, you can't do that. That's a big problem. But you also shouldn't go so extreme that you burn yourself out. There's examples of some of the Sahaba, the greatest Muslims who ever lived, who they were doing too much qiyam al-layl, where the Prophet ﷺ said, pray some of the nights, but sleep some of the nights because your body has a right on you. There are also some of the Sahaba who were fasting every single day and praying every night, and the Prophet ﷺ said, fast on the days and break your fast on the days because your body has a right on you, your wife has a right on you. So, alhamdulillah, our religion teaches balance. It does not teach extremism. So it's very important that we're balanced and moderate in all things without neglecting the basics though, because a lot of people have all or nothing thinking. They're either going to go crazy extreme or they're not going to do it at all. No, that's not good. We need to be just balanced in what we do, and we need to push ourselves a little bit, but not so much that we burn out, but always do a little more than the bare minimum, and you're always going to be able to maybe even exceed your expectations, and then just ramp up and be realistic.
I love that. Your body has the right over you?
Your body has a right over you, yes.
I think that goes a step further back to strength training. It's like, take care of your body. It's the only, it has right over you, but also it's an amanah from Allah.
Yes.
What is the word for it?
Amanah, yeah.
Amanah, yeah. It's the amanah from Allah. It's like Allah gave this to you. Take good care of it. Right? It's kind of like if your boss gave you a Ferrari and then came back a year later and you had just, not taken care of the Ferrari. Do you think the owner of the company would be happy? No, it won't be happy, right? He or she won't be happy. Same thing with Allah. It's like Allah gave you this body. He gave you a very good, able body. Take good care of it, right? And I think that's number one. And number two was what Mounir was talking about, which is the balance part of things. One thing that helps me, and this might help you guys too, I call it the 4 F's of life, right? It's faith, family, fitness, and finances, right? Those 4 areas. So whenever I feel like I'm lagging behind on something or something, I feel like I'm not 100% in certain areas of my life, I just go back, I journal on that. I'm like, how am I doing on my faith? Am I making my prayers? Am I reading Quran? If the answer is yes, I'm like, all right, 10 out of 10 on that. And then family. Am I spending quality time with my wife and my family? If the answer is yes, all right, that's good. Then finances too, because finances affect all the other areas. Like I cannot donate to my mosque when I'm not financially good. I can't help my family. I can't take care of them as a protector and provider. So it's like, all right, finances. Am I working hard on my business? Am I doing all the necessary things? And then last part is fitness, right? And these are in no particular order. Just the 4 F's that always helps me get refocused if I need to. And if you want a good practice, go through them every Sunday. Once a week, look through it, be like, how did I do with my faith? How did I do with my finances and with my fitness and with my family? I feel like those 4 in the last year or 2 ever since I've learned about them and kind of put them in this format, the 4 F's of life, it has really helped me get balance right. Because there are times when I've gone so hard on the business side or the finances side that my family time gets disrupted. And I'm like, hey, slow down. Because at the end of the day, we want all of those things. Like I was at a mastermind recently, a couple months ago, and there was 700 people in the audience, and the host, he was a male, a dad of 4 kids. He had us all, he started the event by saying, he's like, how many of you want to be rich financially? And every hand went up. Then he goes, how many of you want to be rich and fat? And every hand went down. Then he goes, how many of you want to be rich, healthy, jacked, also great family man or woman, and you want to be spiritually strong. And every hand went up. And he said something that was powerful. He said, see, all of you want all of the things. And that's where you need to balance things instead of just focusing on one area and then neglecting the others, right? So yeah, that was something.
SubhanAllah. And I love that because give yourself a report card that is not one-dimensional, but that is four-dimensional for all the different areas of your deen and dunya to ensure that you're being balanced in the right way. And, part of our deen is to provide for our family, to treat our family well, to treat our body well. So don't just think that deen is only ibadah. I see a lot of Muslims who are really good with their ibadah, but their character, they don't smile. The Prophet ﷺ was optimistic and he would smile so much. There's so many hadiths about this, and even a smile is charity. So people neglect even their character and only focus on their ibadah, but they're missing the plot. Of course, the reason why Allah created us is for worship, but the way that you execute every action in your life is either pleasing Allah or displeasing Allah. If you come home to your family, you're grumpy and you demand that your wife cook dinner and you yell at her, that's not pleasing to Allah. So even if you just went and prayed for hours at the masjid, you come home and abuse your family emotionally, that's not pleasing to Allah. And Allah would rather, would rather that you treat your family well, right? And maybe you might have to, find some ways to make yourself happier to do that, right? So I think it's very important that we're balanced in how we provide for our families and how we show up emotionally and how we show up in our health and how we take care of the body. Like Mo said, you give the Ferrari back in bad condition, the owner of the company is not going to be happy. And also, if you put junk fuel in the Ferrari, you didn't even get to enjoy the full performance of that Ferrari. You didn't take it for oil changes. It's not even going to run that effectively. You didn't even get to enjoy it in the time that you had with it. So what about this money which you want to bear with life? It's so important that we take care of this Amanah. And, at the end of the day, I guess, we're about 45 minutes right now, so I think we're going to start wrapping up. But were there any final points that you wanted to make?
Definitely. I think one thing that can really help our audience is psychological reframes really helps me. And I think a lot of the time when you feel like, I have to pick up my kids, I have to work out today, I have to exercise, I have to go to my job, man, I have to do this, I have to go on vacation, and I got to go pack, right? And I think a small reframe. You don't have to do anything. You get to do it. You get to go to the masjid and pray. You get to train. You get to take care of your body. You get to take care of your family. You get to provide for your kids. You have these beautiful family, right? You have a beautiful wife. You have beautiful children that actually love you and they look forward to seeing you that day. So a small reframe. You don't stop saying I have to. You get to. It's so beautiful when you say that. I get to pray at the masjid. I get to make, get ready for Iftar at Suhoor during Ramadan. I get to do all those things. So whenever you can make that little shift, it gives you gratitude because you get to do that. You don't have to do anything, right? And I think a lot of the time, if you just have I have to, it just causes stress. It's look at the beauty of it, right? If you have little kids, I have my sisters, they have little kids. And sometimes they require a lot of work, right? But it's I have to do this, But it's no, you get to do this. You know how many people don't have children? You know how many people are praying to Allah and trying all these medical treatments and still don't have children? Same thing with fitness. So many people, if you look at Gaza, right? So many people don't have access to gyms. The gym's, destroyed. So it's you get to go to this beautiful gym. You get to get in a nice car and drive there. You get to, most people don't even have jobs. You get to have income that you can provide for your family. You get to have a business that you can, provide for your family. So at the end of the day, replace have to with get to. Hopefully that helps.
It does. And you know what? At the beginning of this, I said I can't go to the gym right after Fajr anymore because I have to take my son to school. But I get to take my son to school, which is an amazing blessing, alhamdulillah. And same thing, it's such a great reframe for everything. And one thing that my wife always says, is whenever we feel complaining about something, we need to ask ourselves, what about the opposite? So let's say I'm complaining I'm stuck in traffic. Well, what if you didn't have a car? Be grateful for the cars you have, the fact that you get to even be in traffic and whoever you just picked up from wherever you've been, right? So there's always a positive reframe. Another thing I wanted to tie into as well is taking care of your health is actually something that the Prophet ﷺ told us to do. There's a hadith, take care of 5 before 5. I'm going to see if I can remember all 5. Your health before your illness, your free time before your work, your youth before old age, your life before your death, and I can't remember what the other one was, but maybe somebody knowledgeable can let me know in the comments.
It's beautiful.
But there's 5 things that we're supposed to take care of, and one of them is your health. So take care of your health. And, there's hadith on portion control, everything. Your body has a right on you. So at the end of the day, being fit and healthy is Islamic. And, sometimes when I make my Ramadan content, people are like, oh, why are you trying to make the fast easier? The whole purpose of Ramadan is go through hardship. Well, actually, the purpose of fasting is to attain taqwa per Surah Al-Baqarah, which is God consciousness. So it makes you think about Allah. When you're fasting, you're abstaining from food, for the sake of Allah, whether it's inside of Ramadan or a Sunnah fast. Number 2, in Ramadan, we try to really push our ibadah to the next level and do extra ibadah and everything else. But that doesn't mean that you have to purposefully eat junk food to impose more hardship on yourself. It doesn't mean you need to purposefully neglect your body to make it harder and have less energy. No, it means even if you do take good care of your body, you're still going to feel the pain of fasting at some point. And it's when that inevitable adversity hits you and you're patient through it that you get good deeds for, not by putting more excess hardship on yourself by eating a bad diet and doing these other silly things with your health to damage yourself. No, to harm yourself is actually haram. You know, I think there's multiple ayahs in the Quran about do not harm yourselves, right? And this is why many scholars say that smoking cigarettes is haram. Even though a lot of people think the nicotine is just makruh, many scholars say it's haram because it wastes your money, it damages your health, everything else, right? This is why, it's haram to hit the face in boxing. That's why it's haram to like beat yourself or hurt yourself. So, in Islam, we must always follow the principles of justice to ourselves, justice to those around us, justice to Allah by not associating partners with Him, not committing shirk and having tawheed. Very important. So do justice to your body.
No, 100%. And I think something that Mounir said about, people saying, why are you trying to make Ramadan easier? We're not making it easier. But I think the moral there is, as you're watching this, careful who you take advice from, right? Sure. People, like, if you have a doctor, let's say you're like, yeah, we always say, listen to your doctor, right? But what if the doctor is overweight? What if the doctor doesn't take care of their health? Just because they have some degree that they got 30 years ago doesn't qualify them, right? So it's like, careful who you take advice from. I think that's one thing. I turned 31 today. It is my birthday, mashallah.
Mashallah.
Right? 31 years old. And I think there's one thing I've learned from the age of like 18 to now, last 13 years, was careful who you take advice from. And I think the best thing to do here, not to like plug our coaching programs into it, is as you get into health and fitness, what I see far too often is you might waste years of your life taking the wrong advice from your aunt who's also unhealthy, from your uncle who's also overweight, right? Like one thing I notice about our community is that advice is everywhere when it comes to weight loss. Everybody's a weight loss expert, and yet everybody's struggling to lose weight, right? So it's like, yes, there is the point where like work with professionals, right? Work with coaches like Mounir or my team. And it's like at the end of the day, if I could go back to one habit, like now, for example, in my own immediate family, when I look at my cousins, the boys that grew up with me, they've all been gaining fat. And the only difference that I have is I've been lean for the last 10 years. I've gotten into strength training and I've, coached thousands of clients at this point. But I always think about what was the one thing that I did different? What was the one thing I did different? And the answer was I hired a coach about 10 years ago, right? I was working at a hospital in college and I didn't like being out of shape. I just didn't like it. So I had some money saved up from my hospital job. And I was like, I reached out to a friend on Instagram who was a, fitness trainer that I admired. And I started listening to him and he made me a plan. I followed it to the T and I started getting great results. Like within a couple months, I lost the weight. I started feeling better. I felt more confident as a 21-year-old college student even. And then I just kept that habit up, right? And over time, life changed, seasons changed, routines changed. But whenever I needed help, I could go back to that coach and be like, hey, would you help me with this, right? So at the end of the day, sometimes trying to do things on your own is not good, right? Sometimes like even to learn Quran when I was little, we had a teacher that would come to our house and mentor us and teach us the proper pronunciations and all of it. So it's like with your health and fitness, don't be cheap. When you need a coach, when you need help, just hire a coach, right? At the end of the day, it'll save you years of your life. And it's just a lot easier than just following free content or free advice from your family that might also not be in shape. So careful who you take advice from, and don't be afraid to ask for help and pay for it, because the benefits are endless when it comes to being healthy.
100%. Like if you're trying to become a heart surgeon, you wouldn't just watch a bunch of YouTube videos on heart surgery. No, you would shell out a couple, multiple $100,000 to go to med school and learn how to do it properly. And you wouldn't even be allowed to do heart surgery without that. Now, obviously the good news is fitness is not as complex as heart surgery, but it's definitely more complex than tying your shoes. So you can learn how to tie your shoes on YouTube, but for fitness, you need a professional working with you to handle your unique metabolic history, dieting history, genetics, unique factors, busy weeks of work versus non-busy seasons, etc. There's so many different factors. So what I'll do is, like I said, I'll attach both Moe's and my Instagram in the description. You can message both of us or whoever you resonate with most. You can, and especially, obviously he has a lot more experience working with females, right? So if you're a female, I'm just gonna, say, go ahead and hit him up.
Males, go to Mounir. He's the best.
Jazakallah khair. So I'll attach both the links there. You can DM us on Instagram with the word coaching. And you can also comment below this with any questions you have for either of us, or DM us on Instagram. We're always happy to help. Jazakallah khair. Oh, go ahead.
One last remark on what Mounir just said. fitness is not as complex as heart surgery, but it is still more complex than people make it out to be. Look at the problem that we have right now, right? 40% of American population is obese right now, right? And the Muslims, I feel like our population is even higher. It used to be African Americans that had, the highest rates of type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol. I feel like as a ummah, if we looked at our rates, it's probably up there too now.
Yep.
So one thing I notice is like, okay, everybody thinks they know how to get healthy, right? Oh, it's just eat less and move more. And I often wonder, I'm like, how's that working out for you, right? Just knowing is not enough, right? And I think in the age of AI, we can chat GPT a meal plan, we can chat GPT a workout plan, easy stuff, everybody sees it. But here's the problem that most people don't see yet, or they feel overconfident with, which is accountability, right? If you have your aunt keeping you accountable and the aunt falls off track, then you fall off track. And that's why you have this like generation or families of people that are just not healthy. So at the end of the day, if you want different results, do different things, right? Pay for accountability. Accountability in my life, man, like when I was studying to become an engineer, I didn't just watch free YouTube videos. I went to a university, paid money, sat through classes, had professors with 30 years of engineering experience teach me, be my coaches. So at the end of the day, fitness is not as, complex, but it's also not super easy, because if it was easy, we wouldn't have 40% of the population that's obese. So at the end of the day, just be like, obviously take all this advice, start applying it. But at the end of the day, if all it takes is to hire a coach for 3 to 4 months to get the rest of your life and increase the quality of your life and get better results, do it. I promise you, right? Even if you don't hire one of us, like I promise you, you'll get way better returns on your investment than what you put into it, because the rest of your life, you'll be dialed in. As opposed to if you don't do anything about your health and keep saying it's easy, but yet stay obese, now you're going for that like type 2 diabetes, the medications, the pharmaceutical trap that keeps people stuck for decades of their life, and the quality of your life just diminishes.
100%. People think it's just eat less, move more, but if that worked, you would already be where you need to be. But you've tried that plenty of times. It didn't work. Like I said, you rebounded. We talked about yo-yo dieting. We talked about why it's important to learn how to strength train properly. And there's a lot of exercises you need to learn how to do properly, and then learn how to progress properly and do them safely and do them over the long term, recover properly, eat properly with that, transition it between different phases. I know I'm making it sound really complex. These things are very simple for us to be able to install into you, but think about how complex it is to try to figure it out on your own versus if we actually give you the right structure and accountability and troubleshooting, and we're monitoring your metrics. We make it very easy for you. We give you the templates, the strategies, and we even obviously do done for you meal plans inside of our paid programs, everything else. So again, if you're interested, go ahead and DM us on Instagram. We'll attach the links in the description here. And inshallah, hopefully we'll do another one of these, both in person and online.
Inshallah. Khair. Fly into Detroit. We'll make it happen.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Healthy Systems podcast. I really appreciate you for tuning in today. Now, here are 2 ways I can help you for free. One, you can join our free Facebook community by just going to this link, bit.ly/Titan Facebook group. Just type that into your browser and then answer 2 questions, and then we'll let you into our Facebook community where you'll meet other people, as well as we have a lot of free resources in terms of meal plans, workouts, all kinds of stuff in there. Second way I can help you for free is if you follow me on Instagram at Moe Gaius, MOE, G as in George, H as in horse, I as in India, A as in apple, S as in Sam. Follow me there and then shoot me a message with the word Healthy Systems, and then I'll be sure to send you a free gift. Other than that, keep listening in, and I really appreciate you.